Hello friends. Today we have a review of the Mijia S800 Smart Scales, an interesting and advanced model that can not only show weight, but also collect detailed data about body composition. The manufacturer emphasizes 8 electrodes, dual frequency measurement, and operation in conjunction with the Xiaomi Home app, where measurement reports are generated and history is stored. Let's figure out what kind of device this is, how it is designed, what functions are provided here, and exactly which body parameters it can measure in order to determine how useful it can be. We will try to integrate them into Home Assistant. More details further on, and for now, by tradition, I ask you to like this video so that more people interested in the smart home topic can find it, and to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so before. Device type, Smart Floor Scales. Model, Mijia S800. Weighing range, from 100 grams to 150 kilograms. Minimum measurement step, 50 grams. The scales operate using dual-frequency BIA analysis technology and use 8 electrodes for detailed body data reading. The electrodes are located on the scales themselves and on the handle, which is connected to them by a cable that automatically retracts and hides inside the body. The manufacturer states the use of tempered glass for the top surface. Device weight, 2.4 kilograms. Interface, Bluetooth 5.0 low energy. Power, 4 AA batteries. Ecosystem, Xiaomi Home. The device comes in a fairly large flat box. On the front side, an image of the scales themselves with a detachable handle electrode. The packaging is very restrained, in the familiar minimalist Mijia style. On the back side, the main information about the device is collected. Here the model, power, weight, dimensions, Bluetooth version, and supported systems are indicated. Key features are highlighted separately. Measurement with 8 electrodes, advanced body composition reports, heart rate monitoring. Everything is packed quite well. Dense cardboard inserts are used to protect the scales during shipping. Under the insert are the scales themselves in a protective bag and the manual. Batteries, as stated, are not included, so for the first launch they need to be prepared separately. The manual is entirely in Chinese. From what is clear, there are pictures showing how to stand on the platform, how to hold the handle with electrodes, and which mistakes should be avoided during measurement. Now we can move on to the appearance of the scales themselves. In terms of design, everything is quite in the spirit of Mijia, calm, minimalist, almost entirely white body without unnecessary details. The platform shape is large, with smoothly rounded corners. The top part is covered with a glass panel, and a small logo is located in the center. At the top, near the far edge, you can see the handle, which in the folded state almost does not stand out from the overall silhouette of the device. If we look at the design in more detail, this is where it becomes clear how measurement with 8 electrodes is implemented. 4 electrodes are located on the platform itself, 2 on the left and 2 on the right, in the areas where the feet are placed. 2 more are located on top of the handle, where the user holds it with their hands during measurement. And 2 more electrodes are located on the back side of the same handle. So in total there are 8 contact points, feet on the platform and both sides of the grip on the handle. This is exactly what allows the scales to collect data not only from the lower body, like conventional models, but also through the hands. The handle is quite wide, and the metal contact pads occupy a noticeable part of the surface, so it should be comfortable to hold without needing to adjust your grip specifically. In the working position, the handle rises above the body on a cable that comes out from the center of the top part of the scales. Thanks to this design, the handle can be freely lifted to the required height, and after use, it automatically retracts back inside the body. The display of the scales is hidden under the top glass panel and is almost invisible when turned off. When activated, numbers and icons light up directly through the surface. The indication is large and easy to read, while nothing extra is placed on the outside of the body. On the bottom, everything is quite standard and practical. There are 4 large supports at the corners and a battery compartment in the central part. Power, as already mentioned, is from 4 AA batteries. Service information about the model and main parameters is also printed on the underside. Let's move on to the logical part, the standard control app for the scales, My Home, or as it is now called Xiaomi Home. As I already mentioned, they operate in the mainland China region. The scales automatically appear in the window of discovered new devices. We select them and proceed to the next step. Next, the process is standard for Xiaomi Bluetooth devices. The app asks to enable Bluetooth and keep the smartphone near the scales, after which it goes through several stages: connection, verification, and pairing. After connecting, it remains to perform the basic setup. First, the scales need to be assigned to one of the rooms. Then you need to fill in the user profile, gender, date of birth, height, and weight. For ordinary scales, this might not be so important. But here we are talking about body composition calculation, so the initial data directly affects the accuracy of the analysis and the final reports in the app. The main screen of the app contains the basic capabilities of the scales. The current measurement results are immediately displayed: body mass index, body fat percentage, and muscle mass. Below are the measurement history and a section with unidentified data. It is needed in case multiple people use the scales, and the app could not automatically assign the result to a specific profile. Let's go to the General Settings section. In order for multiple people to use the scales, two options are provided. The first is adding another profile in the same app. Then, depending on the weight, the system will determine who it belongs to. Up to 5 additional users can be added. The second is the standard option for Xiaomi Home devices. Simply grant access to them for another Mi account. There are also standard options here: changing measurement units, firmware updates, device information, or removal from the system. Like other Bluetooth devices in the ecosystem, the scales, after being added, connect to a Bluetooth gateway. This makes it possible to connect to them not directly while being nearby, but through the gateway, wherever you are at that moment. Also, connecting to a gateway usually allows participation in automations, but for smart scales it is difficult to come up with usage scenarios other than weighing and user analysis, and they are not suitable for automations. The measurement process itself is divided into several sequential steps, and the app literally guides you on what to do. First, you need to stand on the scales barefoot, then lift the handle and hold it with both hands. Next, the system asks to make sure that both feet are properly placed on the contact pads, and the hands are raised at approximately a 45-degree angle. This is an important point for correct measurement. You need to maintain contact with the electrodes and, if possible, not move while the scales sequentially take readings. After that, the app shows the measurement results. First, the weight appears, then the body fat percentage, and finally the heart rate is measured if you have enabled this option. On the final screen, it is shown that the measurement is complete, after which the handle can be lowered back. After completing the measurement, you can open a detailed report. A comprehensive result is available here. First, the main indicators: overall score, body mass index, body fat percentage, muscle mass, muscle percentage, heart rate, protein share and body composition, water level, bone mass, skeletal muscle index, visceral fat level, and the so-called biological age. Below are additional calculations: waist-to-hip ratio, fat-free body mass, basal metabolism, and recommended calorie intake. The body composition in kilograms is also shown separately: water, fat, protein mass, and bone mass. Next, the report moves on to the distribution of indicators by body segments. Here, fat and muscles are shown separately for arms, legs, and torso, and based on this data the app draws conclusions about balance. In my case, arms and legs are rated as balanced, while there is a slight imbalance in the torso, which is generally logical and clearly visible on the diagram. Below is positioning by body type. Here the app places me in the overweight zone, primarily due to a body mass index of 25.5 and the current body fat percentage. Even lower there is a block with weight recommendations. And here, in my opinion, the app noticeably underestimates the target value. 67.9 kilograms for my parameters is too little, especially considering the current muscle mass from the same report. Personally, I would consider a range of about 78 to 80 kilograms more adequate. So the report itself is interesting and useful, but some of its target recommendations should still be taken more as a guideline rather than absolute truth. But if we move away from theory and look at practical use, it becomes clear how much the result depends on measurement conditions. For example, I have a more correct morning measurement, 78 kilograms. And right on the first screen, the app shows the difference compared to the previous measurement, minus 1.85 kilograms per day. This is a good example of how one-time measurements taken at different times of the day can differ significantly from each other. That is why, for proper statistics, such scales are best used under the same conditions. Ideally, in the morning, on an empty stomach, after usual morning routines, and with minimal clothing so that food, water, and the weight of clothing do not affect the result. For bioimpedance scales, this is especially important because during the day the indicators can change noticeably depending on diet, physical activity, and even simply the amount of fluid consumed. In my case, this is clearly visible in practice. The previous test measurement was taken during the day, after a workout, several meals, and continuous water consumption throughout the day, so it turned out higher. If the goal is specifically to track dynamics, it is better to weigh yourself either every morning or at least several times a week, but always at approximately the same time and in the same condition. Then the statistics will be truly useful. There is also a built-in option to save measurement results as a single image, in a simplified or full version. Convenient if you need, for example, to send it to a doctor, trainer, or consult with an AI assistant. Since my scales are connected via Xiaomi Gateway 4, we can also look at how they are displayed in its local web interface. The device is detected correctly there, falls into the appropriate category, and is visible in the general list of available devices. If you open the device card, the interface shows a set of supported events and statuses. Here you can see items related to the battery, state changes, as well as various types of data transmission, including measurement results, quick test, and some additional modes. This looks interesting from a technical point of view. You can understand that the gateway sees the device and what entities or events it can provide. You can also request the current state separately, but in practice there is little information here. In my case, mostly the working status is displayed without any really useful real-time telemetry. That is, from the point of view of an ordinary user, there is almost no practical benefit from this screen. It rather confirms the very fact of the device's connection to the gateway. There is also a section with commands, where various service actions are listed, working with users, switching modes, requesting offline data, synchronizing information, and other internal functions. But in this form, it looks more like a service or debugging interface than something truly useful for everyday use. So the very fact that the scales are displayed in the local interface of the gateway is interesting, especially if you want to understand the internal logic of the device. But from a practical standpoint, its value currently looks quite limited. Now let's try to add the scales to Home Assistant. I use the Xiaomi Mijia integration. It supports a large number of devices. I have several of them added to my smart home system. The scales as a device were indeed found here. The model number is visible, Xiaomi.scales.ms116. We select it and proceed to the next step. So far, everything looks quite promising. It remains to check what exactly has been pulled into Home Assistant. In fact, the result is quite modest. Only the battery charge sensor, and even that with an unknown value and an info button. With other integrations, as far as I can judge from my search, the result is no better. Only created requests for adding the device or open tickets are found. For example, this one. I did not find a ready-made implementation at the time of recording this video. If you know of any, write in the comments. It will be very interesting. Overall, personally, the Mijia S800 left a good impression on me as advanced smart scales for those who want to see not only a weight number, but also a more detailed picture of body composition. Of course, if you are interested in such information and know how to use it. As I already said, to obtain correct statistics, measurements need to be carried out under the same conditions. Otherwise, the variation in results will be too large. Among the downsides, I treat some recommendations in the app with at least some skepticism, for example, the weight recommendation. Personally, I would like the scales to work with the Zepp app from Amazfit, in which the very first version of Xiaomi Smart Scales was perfectly detected. Although Xiaomi Home is also installed for me, and there are no problems with its operation. And with integration into Home Assistant at the moment, everything is still not as good as I would like. That's all. I hope this video was useful and interesting for you. I will be waiting for your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. If you liked the video, like it and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss new reviews and tutorials. In the description under the video you will find all the necessary links to to the scales, as well as my Telegram channels and social networks, and a group for communication on smart home topics. Thank you for your attention. See you again. Peace to everyone.